the text message.
As those two a collective two or two and
collective two. All right, sorry, Ms. Squires, go ahead. Now, you signed this agreement as Shelby Brown. Are you going by Shelby Brown or Shelby Squires?
It depends on if you're asking the state or Social Security, Your Honor. State of Tennessee has me as...
I'm talking about here in this court. How do you want to be addressed?
Shelby Brown is just fine.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, Your Honor. Thank you. I apologize. I do also have text that I had received on Thursday, June 4th. This was the day after we had just had court. Or this was the day just before we had had court. I was working to, when I had initially filed the petition, I had a misunderstanding. I had believed that the order was signed, especially when I seen Miss Knight give her notice of appearance. I just assumed that the order had been approved, and that's what we were waiting for on this hearing. I didn't understand that it had been denied. So when I was made aware of that and I came back into town for the hearing, I had reached out to Mr. Brown and told him that I was back in town, tried to meet with him to get the girls, and down at 1:39 p.m. He had agreed to give her lunch, but then he turned around and said that she did not eat. So he claims that she's eating just fine during his time, but that is clearly not always the case. And then, now with, in my petition, I did make the court aware that their child services is investigating currently. Our history with child services began back in either 2020. I know it was Maxie that ended up being the first person to call in child services on us. I believe Mr. Brown was investigated at that time for child endangerment, and I was investigated for failure to protect because I had not contacted authorities.
When was this?
This was in, I believe, 2020 when we had first came in and put another order of protection. It was in front of Maxie.
And you understand that that's now evidence that already been heard by the court and already been considered in making the prior rulings. So what we're talking about now is what has happened since the last order went down in this case.
Yes, sir.
That would justify you being granted the extraordinary remedy of moving to the state of Indiana and taking the children with you.
Okay. Well, it would get into with child services being involved.
In 2020.
They're currently involved as well. I was investigated for failure to protect back then. That was denied. Then again, in here recently, I'll just skip to here recently. I apologize. In December of this year, my therapist through Centerstone.
December of 2025?
25, yes, sir. My therapist decided to go ahead and make a call into child services based on some things that she had heard during one of our therapy sessions. I have been discussing the lack of hygiene of the girls when they come back into my care, them coming in clothes 2 years, 2 sizes small, the knots in the hair, the not bathing, the children not brushing their teeth for the entire time that they're over there. And I had just gotten this woman as my therapist. She was newer, and I think maybe, I don't know if maybe that's why she called. But I mean, everybody in the state of Tennessee is a mandated reporter. So when you hear something about that, I do feel like you are supposed to call, and I was glad that she did. But it's been since December, and Child Services still has not been updating me on many of these things. They ended up actually losing our case for several months and failed to complete a transfer over to Cheatham County, so that way this county could continue their investigation into the accusations against Mr. Brown. And I still have not received an update from them. They have been made aware of the Clara Brown not receiving her medication. And it is my understanding that they have performed a home inspection on Mr. Brown. And I did put a stipulation into the petition, or the ex parte order, that should Child Services deem it necessary to charge Mr. Brown with anything, that the children should, instead of being with him, come to Indiana with me immediately. And I'm wondering, like, we're going to have to switch over the insurance. We're going to have to switch over the school up to Indiana. But if I can't get basic communication about if we're going to the eye doctor or getting medication to my youngest child, I'm kind of at a loss on what the best option is going to be going forward for this.
Well, is there any other evidence you want to have the court consider regarding your request?
Yes, in the petition, there is a doctor's note from Mark Their Words Therapy. Oh, I apologize. I think I do. I'm sorry. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to. Thank you. Let me see some answers. I apologize. I do not, I'm not quite sure where the form is. With the petition, there's two different forms of therapy that the children have been receiving. Clara Brown, the 6-year-old, she's been receiving speech therapy services from Mark Their Words Therapy. She received those for about 1.5 years. A year before she started school, and then about halfway through the school year, she was receiving those services in addition to speech therapy through the school. But
the judge draws a critical line. Old allegations already considered by the court cannot automatically justify this new interstate relocation request.
With Mark Their Words, their program, the way that it's set up is you go in for a set schedule for a set amount of time. For Clara, it was deemed that she should have 3 sessions a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I was able to get her to those appointments during my parenting time, but when Mr. Brown was getting the children every other Friday throughout the school year, he was refusing to make appointments for her speech therapy. I had offered to drive her. I had offered, but Zoom was an option that could have been established. But I don't know if it was because he did not like that she was withheld from kindergarten, that he just decided that this was not something that she needed to have, or what the reasoning was. But I do believe that if my daughter had had participation from both of her parents, that she would have been better prepared to go into kindergarten. She has an extreme phonological disorder, which means her speech, the best way I can describe it is that it's like dyslexia with sounds. Instead of reading and things are flip-flopped, it's when she's speaking, her sounds come out different. Like, it took her until 6 years old to be able to say ketchup properly. So that causes not just issues with her education and being able to properly read and form her phonics right, but it also causes social barriers with her making friends, or feeling like she's not enough when she's the only kid in the room that's not being understood. So I don't believe it was just her education that suffered. I believe it was socially. That was something that she lives with. And I know she's sick, so as far as witnessing to anything, even if you could just hear her speak, just to hear her vocabulary, you might get an understanding on why I felt it was best to pursue the speech therapy the first year rather than putting her straight into kindergarten. I didn't want her to be so frustrated that first year that she just gave up on school. And then the other type of therapy that our children are receiving, Allison Brown, our 11-year-old, has an anxiety disorder, and Claire Brown is diagnosed with ADHD. They both see Molly Fields, who is a Centerstone-based therapist. She's been the school therapist out of the Montgomery County schools that we've been able to get into. They receive sessions about a couple times a month for various things. It took a while to get Mr. Brown to participate in that, but he has started making appointments this summer. And I have appreciated that greatly. And I will say, if the motion is granted for us to be able to go up to Indiana, Centerstone does also practice in Indiana. That is one of their other states, so those services would be able to switch over. And I believe that's what I have.
Mr. Knight, you may cross-examine.
And I'm sorry, pardon me for asking. You said you wanted to go about Miss Brown. Okay. Miss Brown, you mentioned you've once again come into some housing issues. Since we were in court last on October 2023, how many different residences have you had?
Since 23, my grandma's is now number 3.
Did you live with Carol Hinger?
Carol Henniger at 1532 apartment 4, which is where I later signed a 24-month lease for. She had moved out of the apartment and I took over the next year.
And when did you move out of that residence?
That was let's say March 11th of this year. And I moved in the same building, but Unit 6, and I stayed there until May 20th.
So since 23, you've been in the same apartment complex?
Until I moved to Indiana, yeah.
Okay. So there wasn't an instance in 2024 when you lost your housing and you had to ask father if the children could stay with him?
That was right before I had moved in with Carol Henniger.
And you didn't live with her in 2023?
I don't remember the exact date that I moved in with Carol Henniger. I lived in a domestic violence shelter for about a year and a half, and then I had an apartment for a year in Millertown. And then that was when I had contacted Mr. Brown because I was concerned that I wasn't going to be able to keep a roof over their house or over their heads. And then Carol had offered to allow us to move in with her, and she had been the director of the domestic violence shelter I'd stayed in, so I'd built a relationship and felt that I could trust that situation.
And is that an address that you gave to father, or did you withhold that address from the father?
At the time, I was in the state of Tennessee's address confidentiality program, Safe at Home, and I was in that program from 2020 to 2024. It is not a housing assistance program. It is strictly to hide the address of victims.
So you said you moved into Miss Henniger's apartment.
Mhm.
She left and you stayed there until March of 2026.
Yes, and I had ended up, I had decided not to renew my participation in the Safe at Home program because I knew Mr. Brown not knowing where his children were was a point of contention, and I was hoping to just ease tensions. That's why I withdrew or didn't renew my presence in the program.
So in October of 2024, did you sign a new lease?
I do believe that's when I signed a lease after Carol moved out.
And did your father co-sign that with you?
Yes.
And then did you re-sign that lease at any other point?
I did either, I'm trying to remember the dates that I had signed it. I had signed again without my father. I had a previous partner that was living with me, and he had signed on to the lease. I want to say that might have been October, November 25. If I had provided that info, if you could correct me on that date.
And then you moved out in March of this year from that apartment?
Yeah.
And you moved into, you said, your neighbor's apartment.
Yeah, I'd had a neighbor, and we thought we were going to be able to make that work.
How many bedrooms was that apartment?
2.
Where were you and the children sleeping?
We were in one room.
Did you think that was a good option for long term?
Well, it was better than a car.
And then you moved to Indiana in early June of this year.
Yes.
When is the last time that you had stable housing?
Since I've had stable housing.
And now the cross-examination hits. Dad's attorney immediately attacks Mom's biggest vulnerability, housing instability.
That year that I had signed the lease, that was about the last time I was not struggling to pay rent.
When was the last time you were employed?
Currently running a little bit of self-employment. I was able to bring in, let's see,
Can you explain what that employment is before you explain the income, please?
Sure. I still need to file for the business license, but I'm doing just various goods and services. I've got a couple of artwares that I do, different sun catchers, and then I just offer labor. Somebody needs somebody on the farm to work, or you need a laborer, I'll jump in.
When did you begin doing this self-employment for goods and services?
I had attempted to last year, but I wasn't able to really get it off of the ground. I put more effort into it when I went back up to Indiana. Had more. It's a lot easier to sell goods when you know some people in the community. Just from my parents had known a couple people. My grandmother, just having different contacts throughout the church, just kind of made it a little bit easier to get my foot in the door.
When is the last time you had a traditional employment?
Traditional employment, I did delivery driving for about a year. That was after Firehouse Subs.
Okay. Well, tell me about your delivery driving. Who were you driving for?
I did a combination. I had multiple different apps, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and I would drive for whoever was running the better promotion.
How much were you earning then?
It varied. On a really good weekend night, I might be able to bring in 150
Per night?
Yeah, and I mean it varies some on the take home. Like that may have been what the app says you paid out, but that doesn't take into calculation the gas expenses and everything. So, and after I ended up taking the cost of everything, I ended up being in the negative because I ended up having car problems, lost the car, so that job actually cost me.
How many hours per week were you doing that job? Approximately.
Probably 25, 30.
And how long did you do that job?
A little over a year. I want to say that car blew. I want to say that car blew right before 25. I want to say it was December of 24. Yeah, I think it was 24.
Did you earn any income in 2025?
I had money from donating plasma, but I was told that wasn't a taxable income.
How did you support yourself and the children in 2025?
I had different family members that were helping out. I hit different food drives, was doing that. We had cut back down on rent to the $450.
When did you work at Firehouse Subs? You mentioned that employment. Was that before or after the delivery driving?
Before.
How long did you work there?
I don't think it was quite a year.
How much did you earn there?
I want to say that was around, I don't remember the exact amount, but I want to say it was around 11 an hour.
Do you know approximately how long you would have been working, or how many hours per week you were working?
It varied, but that was around think I was only getting like 2 or 3 nights, maybe 20 hours a week.
I want to pass you something. Just one for the witness at this point. Ms. Brown, I want you to look at this document and tell me if you recognize this document.
Looks like supplemental response.
Flip through. Are these discovery responses that you provided to me previously?
Looks like it.
Okay. Would this have been during Mr. Brown's previous petition to modify the parenting plan in 2024?
I believe so.
Okay. If you flip to page 2, there's a question that states to please list all employment you've had since the October 5th, 2023 hearing.
Mhm.
Do you see that question?
Yep.
Okay. And then flip to page 3. Do you see your answers there?
The Firehouse Subs, Uber Eats, and DoorDash.
Okay. So the question was since October, the last hearing in October 2023, please state all of your employment. And you said Firehouse, Uber Eats, and DoorDash. That was all the employment you had over the last year, correct? At the time you answered these.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. And why did you leave Firehouse Subs?
I ended up falling for a scam.
What is the reason that you gave in your discovery responses as to why you left Firehouse Subs?
Let's see.
It's on the top of page 3.
Found better paying work.
You found better paying work. So you left one job for better paying work.
Yeah, the Uber Eats and DoorDash was better paying.
And you said, and when did you begin Uber Eats and DoorDash?
Looks like August of 24.
Okay. And did earlier did you testify that your car blew before 25? Was that your testimony earlier?
The car would have been December of 24.
Okay. So did you stop working Uber Eats in December and DoorDash in December of 24?
That's I believe so, because I mean, when the car blew, that's when I did it, and it wasn't this past December, so it wasn't December of 26. It would have been December, or not December of 25. It would have been December of 24 when that car blew, because I've only had this green car for a year. So
you've had this new car for a year.
Yeah.
And in that last year, have you obtained any other employment other than attempting to sell some goods you've made? Prior to moving to Indiana. Any employment in Tennessee?
I've had actually applied through the IPS program through Centerstone. I believe I have that flyer over there, though I have only got one copy of it. The IPS program is a program ran through Centerstone specifically to help people with mental health disabilities get back into the workforce. They had somebody that was supposed to run the program. I was on the list for like 4 or 5 months before we finally got the ball rolling. And when they finally had started getting my employment lined up to help me with employment, that was when I lost my apartment and then ended up going up to Indiana.
So that program's to help people with mental health disabilities get back into the workforce?
Yes.
You're asking this court to allow you to move 7 or 8 hours away, several states away with your children and take them away from their father, correct?
Yes.
Based on your inability to secure stable housing and your inability to obtain employment. Is that correct?
In part, yes.
Dad's attorney lands the central attack. Mom wants to move the children several states away while struggling with housing and employment.
But you've not even made any efforts other than applying with the program. Have you put any applications in at any place of employment in the last year and a half?
Yes, I've applied to Lowe's. I've applied to Walmart. I have several other places I've employed to. I would have to get that list for you, and we can go over that in Discovery if you'd like. So I have made several attempts to gain employment, and the mental health disability that I have is due to um, repeated mental stress and abuse that I incurred throughout the relationship with Mr. Brown, and then dealing with trying to co-parent with him after the fact. So yeah, I know it doesn't look great that I haven't worked that much, but I've still stuck with my therapy. I've still gotten sober, and I'm still at least trying to gain employment through means on my own, and then also applying with people that are willing to help me gain employment.
And do you think your mental health is going to miraculously be much better in Indiana that allows you to hold down stable employment?
Well, mental health is kind of a journey. It's not something that just fixes itself overnight. I've had 6 years of therapy, and though I'm not sure that I'll continue with the talk therapy at this point, I'm still going to continue with my medication. What I would like to say is that by this point, I have gained a better understanding of my condition, a better understanding of my triggers, and a better ability to use healthier coping skills, and to recognize different situations to where maybe I need to step away from, in order to, maintain that sense of not being so panicky, not being so flighty. For example, I don't go into large crowds very much anymore because I know I'm going to get overstimulated. I'm going to get overwhelmed. And I'm 21 months sober. I haven't drank. So that was a major improvement as well, to stop the drinking and then get medication. So I know my mental health isn't, I mean, it took 6 years to get me to this point, and I mean, I've maintained the sobriety for so long, and I'm still taking the medication. I'm actually very proud of the progress that I've made so far. And I do believe that if put into the right type of environment where I can have the support of family and just be a little bit more comfortable with having a stable living environment, then I can provide, good work to be able to support me and my family, contribute to society. Like, I'm not completely to the point where I need to be filing for Social Security disability, and I would like to get to work now.
You said you're not to the point of filing for Social Security disability. So you are able to work, correct?
That's what I'm doing at the moment, yeah.
But over the last year and a half, you've not had stable income.
Not consistently, no. There was a major shift. I felt very held back by having to stay in Tennessee. I didn't feel like I had a lot of family or friends to support. Felt very kind of closed off. And then, even though I'm not proud of losing the apartments, since I started filing this paperwork to see if Indiana could be the potential future for my daughters and I, there has been a shift, especially with the caretaking. I mean, that's my grandmother. That's something that I would be honored to be able to do for her.
But my question was that you're not to the point of needing to file for Social Security disability. So your
Right.
mental health is not to the point that it prevents you from working. Is that correct?
I would say that I haven't been steadily employed, so I feel like that kind of speaks that the mental health was clearly contributing to some bit on whether or not I was holding a job or not.
Do you have a degree?
I do in graphic design.
Have you ever tried to work with and utilize your degree?
Yes, through several aspects with graphic design in 2023, we were working with Photoshop, basic Adobe products. Now when I got into the market in that field, that's kind of when Vistaprint and, a lot of pre-laid out stuff was already available. So people were going to that option rather than paying somebody $75 for a design charge. The other part of my degree is in business, and I have been able to use that in several different fronts. I was able to use it when I applied to be a veteran service officer here for Cheatham County. And unfortunately, Montgomery County did not want me because I was not a veteran. I was also able to use the business degree when I have a job at Colby's Army, doing various filings for them and their grant.
When was the last time you worked at Colby's Army?
Oh, it's been a few years.
Did you work there at all in 2024?
No.
In 2023?
I don't remember the date that the grant ended my employment.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Have you ever applied for unemployment?
No, I had not. My understanding was that I wouldn't qualify.
Can I pass you something? Would you take a look at this document and tell me if you recognize this, Ms. Brown?
What specifically are you wanting me to look at?
Just this document in general. Do you recognize this document?
Not from memory, but I'm reading the title here, so I'm assuming it was the answers to interrogatories.
And if you flip to the very last page, is there a certificate of service that says this was from July 12th of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. So is this your discovery responses?
Looks to be that way.
Somehow the page numbers are not on what I received back. But if you will look at...
Okay, actually I see it here.
Interrogatory number 14.
Yeah, where it looks like I did apply for unemployment, but ceased to pursue because apply for families first, but ceased to pursue. Okay, so these were back in 24.
So in 2024, you did apply for unemployment, correct?
It does looks like I applied for it. I know I never received it.
Does your discovery responses indicate that you applied but ceased to pursue?
It looks that way.
Did you submit sworn discovery responses that also state that you've applied for families first but ceased to pursue?
Yeah, the families first was something that I had ended up deciding was not going to work for my family and I, because my understanding is that it's more like a loan to where they will. I kept hearing from caseworkers and everybody that they would give you a payment, but then they would turn around and take it out of your child support, and that just sounded like kicking the can down the road. I didn't understand why I would do that.
Okay. So in 2024, you applied for unemployment, so you weren't working at a point in 2024, correct?
Correct. So this is...
And you chose not to pursue opportunities that could help you support your family, correct?
Well, if this is right before I gained employment, then...
When did you gain employment?
I gained employment at Firehouse, in August or September, so right after
Worse, the recommended specialist appointment still hasn't happened, and several hygiene accusations lack documentation.
So right after this.
Can you go back to the other set of documents that I gave you? And look at page 3. Where it talks about your Firehouse subs employment.
Okay, yeah. So this says... Oh, okay. So this was in April. So I was already working at Firehouse before this was filed.
So you worked at Firehouse Subs. You said April 2024 through April 2026. Is that correct?
That looks like what I submitted.
I'm sorry, April 2024 through August 2024. And then in August 2024, you began working at Uber Eats.
Okay, it looks like what I wrote.
Okay. And I want to make her two discovery responses and a collective exhibit.
All right.
If we can pass
those the ones in her.
Yes. Pass those copies out.
I'll sure you just hand that to the.
So, Ms. Brown, we've talked a lot about your employment or lack thereof over the last year and a half.
Hmm.
You signed a lease to move in with your grandmother.
Mhm.
And you moved in, you said June 3rd of this year?
Yes.
Okay. How old is your grandmother?
She just turned 81.
81. Okay. And you said there's some memory issues.
A couple.
Okay. And is this the type of memory issues that are going to progressively get worse?
I'm going to need to speak with her doctors about that. I don't want to say something and then be wrong.
But it's to the point that she needs a living caretaker?
Yes, it's also in addition to her eyesight as well. It's hard for her to see around the kitchen, drive herself.
Do you think that you would have sufficient time to care for the children full time while caring for another individual as your full time employment?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned to the court that when you moved back to Indiana, you've been going back and forth week to week. Is that correct?
Yeah, every Friday I've been driving down here to the Cheatham County Sheriff's Office to pick up the girls or drop them off.
But that was after you left the children with Mr. Brown for 3.5 weeks before you started exercising time with them in Indiana, correct?
Yes. Mr. Brown had actually, I had reached out to him requesting a Zoom call with the girls, and I had received a response back, and he's like, well, you never gave me any kind of notification that you were leaving. And I'd asked him, I was like, what do you mean? I thought you were served on the 21st. And his response was that he was not going to help me with the motion.
21st of what month?
I would have to check.
What month did you file your petition?
Would have been June. No, I filed in May. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure we're on the same timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So you filed your petition and immediately moved to Indiana.
I filed the petition and I had called the courthouse the next day, and I was told that it had been sent over to the sheriff's.
I'm going to object to the answer at this point. That's not the question that was asked, and we're also veering into hearsay.
Sustain the objection. Just answer the question that you're asked, please.
So immediately after filing the petition, you moved to Indiana.
I drove up that night and I called the next morning to see if they had, if it had gone through. I had received the impression that the order was signed, and that we had a
Can you
court
provide
date.
a yes or no answer to my question before you give an explanation? Immediately after filing the petition, you moved to Indiana.
No. There is a little bit of time there. The lease doesn't start until the 3rd, so it wasn't until a couple of days before we came to court that I moved in with my grandma officially.
Immediately after filing the petition, did you drive to Indiana?
Yes.
Did you stay with family in Indiana?
Yes.
Did you take the children with you?
No.
They stayed with Mr. Brown, correct?
Yes.
From the day school got out?
It was, I believe it was the day school got out.
And then did you see them when you were in Tennessee for court on June 4th?
I thought we had court June 5th.
Court on June 5th. Did you see them in Tennessee? on June 4th.
Yes. When I got down to Tennessee, I checked with the courthouse, and that's when I became aware that my order had been denied. And so was the request that they had go with Mr. Brown. So when I became aware of that, I contacted Mr. Brown in order to exercise a couple of days of parenting time.
And then after court, did you leave the children with Mr. Brown and go back to Indiana?
Yeah, I believe they stayed with Mr. Brown that week.
Okay. So would June 12th be around the first time you started exercising parenting time with the children in Indiana? Would it be the week after court?
Yeah.
Okay. So between school getting out and the week after the May 5th court date was the first time you took the children to Indiana with you since you filed the petition?
Yeah.
The text message that you showed us earlier about asking Mr. Brown for the medication, that was on Saturday, June 13th, after you had taken the children back to Indiana. So you had moved to Indiana at this point, and you were taking the children several states away, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't check to see if necessary medication was packed prior to leaving the state with the children?
We were, I'm not sure quite how far down the road we were. No, usually with the exchanges, we don't talk a ton. A lot of times I will hand the medication to Mr. Brown. Sometimes he just hands it to the girls or he puts it in their backpack, and that's how I get the medication. So when I had texted him, I had assumed that he would have brought the medication. It's not something that I have been very excited to bring up at exchanges because I'm not trying to argue in front of our daughters. So I communicated, please bring the medication. The medication was not provided.
So you asked him ahead of time to bring the medication, but you didn't look to see if he packed it.
No, I did not.
Let's talk about this medication. When was Clara first prescribed this medication?
It's been about a year.
Okay. Was this supposed to be the only solution, or was she supposed to take additional appointments or tests or see anyone else?
No, she had initially she was going to be on it. I don't remember if there was an exact determinate amount of time that she was going to be on it. I just knew that the doctor wanted her to be on it for at least multiple months to see if there was any kind of growth. She was given a referral to Vanderbilt, and I believe that one had lapsed. I had spoken to Mr. Brown about that. I don't recall ever getting any kind of a response, and I'm not sure if that's why I didn't schedule or what, but I ended up having to call the pediatrician again to get another referral. And again, that was right before the lease. And we can go ahead and get that scheduled if we want to do it here, or if the girls end up coming up to Indiana with me, I can get that scheduled up there.
So the medication, she's supposed to take the medication, but get a referral and see a specialist over this issue.
Uh-huh.
And you've still not taken her to see that specialist, correct?
Neither of us have taken her to see the specialist.
But you have not taken her to see the specialist, yes or no?
No.
Has she lost any weight?
It's not that she has lost weight. It's that she's not gaining at a very fast rate.
Have you taken her back to the pediatrician in the last 6 months to discuss the lack of weight gain?
Yeah, that was, I don't recall her exact appointment date, but that's when we got I had them put the referral back out for Vanderbilt. I would have to check their records to get those exact dates.
The attorney repeatedly forces yes or no answers, testing whether she effectively relocated before receiving permission from the court.
You mentioned some hair tangling and some teeth not being brushed.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the hair tangling 1st. Have you taken any photographs or presented any proof today of that?
I hadn't. I really wished I had, though. But
The not brushing their teeth for an entire week.
yeah,
Have you taken them to the dentist about this issue?
yes.
Have they had extensive issues at the dentist?
Claire has had to have several teeth pulled.
Do you have any proof of that today?
Not with me today. Other than if you look in Claire's mouth, so you can see the gaps.
But she's with you a sufficient amount of time as well, correct?
Sorry?
She's with you a sufficient amount of time as well, correct?
Yes.
Has any pediatric dentist told you that her dental issues are, or has, do you, let me try that question. Has Mr. Brown ever told you that he does not brush the children's teeth for a week at a time?
No, I believe he is denied it on several occasions. But when I speak with the girls tell me that they're not brushing their teeth, and you smell their breath when they get home, and it's pretty evident stuff's not getting brushed.
Have the girls ever told? Do you ever ask the children to do something and they don't do it?
Yeah.
Does that make you a bad parent?
I think
No, just yes or no, please answer my question. Asking the children to do something and they not do it, does that make you a bad parent?
No.
If you want to provide an explanation, you can.
Okay. I don't think that makes you a bad parent, but when you know that your child is supposed to be doing something, or you are supposed to be encouraging some kind of behavior or habit, especially when it comes to health and hygiene, and if they're not doing it and you're aware they're not doing it, are you not wrong to not encourage them to do that? If you tell a child to brush their teeth and they say, no, I'm not brushing my teeth, would you not then maybe take the tablet away or something?
Are you at Mr. Brown's house? Have you ever seen him tell the children to do something?
No, I haven't. No? That's why I'm confused. I don't understand. I don't have an understanding on why a parent can't get their children to brush their teeth.
Do you think it would have any negative impact on the children to live several states away from their father?
Actually, I believe it might have a impact in the better for their education throughout the school year. When they're with Mr. Brown throughout his weekends, there is not much of a schedule. There's no consistency. They stay up however late they want. They're on their tablets for however long they want. It's whatever they can do to kind of just be placated.
And you said that was on the weekends?
During the school year, he has them every other weekend from Thursday evening to Sunday evening. And so when they're not on any kind of a schedule and he's not doing he didn't do anything from the speech therapist, or if he's not doing any homework with them, they're not having sleep schedules, they're not brushing their teeth, they're not bathing. It takes me several days to get them back in check by the time they get home, trying to get them on a regular sleep schedule, waking up to where they're not grumpy, eating normally. It takes me several days just to get them back into the swing of things. So if I'm sending them to Mr. Brown's every other week, and then he's counterintuitive in the way that he's parenting them or spending his time with them, then I got to spend several days getting them back on track. If we don't have that gap every other week, and if their education and their schedule is consistent throughout the school year, maybe that might be a little bit better for them.
So you think it would be better for them to go the majority of the school year without having parenting time with their father?
If their father was expressing his parenting time in a healthy way, why am I having arguments over whether or not my children are bathed? They're little girls. One's about ready to start menstruating. Bathing should not be this big of a problem.
Has Mr. Brown ever told you he does not bathe the children?
No, but when they come home and they say for the entirety of the time that they've been over there that they have not bathed, and it's not just one off here and there, it's consistently. Yeah, I believe my therapist had every right to call child services.
And so it's your request that based on your inability to secure housing, your inability to secure employment, and Mr. Brown's inability to properly parent, that you should move several hours and several states away with the children and limit access to them during the school year.
I believe that it would be in the best interest of the girls to have two parents who would actually work together for them rather than out of spite for the other person is a perfect world. But at the moment, I believe that they should be with the person that, I mean, we're borderline negligent on some of this stuff. And I don't understand how I can sit here and continue to watch this and say, yes, I'm completely comfortable with Mr. Brown taking these girls.
Have you ever filed a petition to modify the parenting plan since it was put in place?
That's what
Before
we're
you're
doing here.
requesting to move the children to Indiana. You have listed numerous issues today that you have with Mr. Brown's parenting, correct?
Right.
Over the last 3 years, two and a half, 3 years. Have you ever filed a petition to modify the parenting plan?
I had not. Coming back into this courtroom again was a major struggle.
So these issues with Mr. Brown's parenting abilities did not raise enough concern with you to file a petition to modify the parenting plan until you wanted to move to Indiana.
No, ma'am. Well, yes and no, I guess. I didn't file another petition. I didn't want to file anything in this courtroom. I didn't want to be back in here. But it's kind of at the point where I knew I needed to file something. I knew that though things had been reported to child services, it didn't feel like, it felt like my children were getting let down. So I knew eventually I was going to have to come in here. I feel like the eviction is what kind of like put my feet to the fire and got me back in this room.
That's all my questions for this witness.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You must step down. Ms. Brown, do you have any other witnesses you intend to call other
Only
than
if
the
you wish.
children that you had suggested those with?
Only if you wish to hear from them.
All right. You may step down and have a seat at this table.
And here comes the brutal closing pressure. Mom argues Dad's routines hurt the girls, but admits she never previously filed to modify his parenting time. The attorney's point is devastating. These concerns became courtroom issues when Mom needed permission to move to Indiana.